Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we have to talk about what's happening over at CNN. Absolute panic. They're freaking out. They are terrified of what the future holds. Why? Well, simply because it's going to change leadership over there with the acquisition by Paramount of Warner Brothers Discovery. It's going to change CNN fundamentally from the ground up, as they will become somewhat subservient to Paramount Sky Dance leadership, which means they won't be able to peddle one-sided propaganda any longer. And that's a good thing. Hang on, folks. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to get to 50K, and we are closing in on it thanks to you. If you have not yet subscribed, if this is your first time or your 1000th time, please do so now. In fact, double check you're still subscribed, even if you think you are. Click on that subscribe button, make sure everything is good, and then click on the silver icon bell, which is the notification bell, and turn on all notifications. And while you're down there, quick thumbs up, early engagement, all good. Now be prepared for the whole video and make sure you comment at the end of it, or even during it. I would appreciate it. Let's jump into the story from Charles Gasparino. CNN staffers in a panic over Paramount takeover. What's likely in store for the cable news giant? And Charles has been right on top of this from the very beginning. And of course, I've already released a video about this. And what is that video all about? Well, it was about the fact that there are people in positions of power now that are afraid to lose it. They get to guide and craft a narrative. They get to assemble panels of people that really are singularly focused on one side of the story. And it's not even the story based in fact, it's based on feelings, which is the biggest problem with CNN right now. It's the feelings network, very much like MS Now, a feelings network. And you can tell that in the way they report the news. In fact, for them, is it really news if they're so biased? I don't think so. But regardless, CNN staffers are freaking out over learning that their left-leaning network's owner, Warner Brothers Discovery, will be acquired by Paramount Sky Dance, even as insiders confirm that the new owners plan to take a more politically centrist approach to news. At least that's what the Post has learned. And some of the quotes in here, I think, are brilliant and very informative. Top talent and low-level producers alike are apoplectic that CNN is being acquired by Paramount Sky Dance, the media giant that scooped up CBS last year and which subsequently tapped 41-year-old news hound Barry Weiss to root out liberal bias at the network. Now, CNN staffers are so panicked that the network's president, Mark Thompson, was forced to send out a memo late Thursday to tamp down anxiety. The merger still requires a green light from Trump's Department of Justice, among other regulatory approvals. Now, you can certainly say that, you can certainly think that, and it certainly is the truth, but I have to ask a question. Do you think that Trump's regulatory agents are going to restrict this in any way? It doesn't seem to be in any way overtly anti-competition. In fact, it kind of keeps competition alive, and it keeps a movie studio away from a primary streamer who has shown nothing but disdain for the theatrical releases, at least until recently. And now it's really just for award's sake. So we'll get into this with a quote. Despite all the speculation you've read during this process, I'd suggest that you don't jump to conclusions about the future until we know more. That's what Thompson wrote late Thursday after it became clear that the Paramount Sky had emerged victorious over Netflix, which I think I reported fairly accurately in a video that's right up there. And secondly, let's not forget our duty to our audience. We're still near the start of what is already an incredibly newsy year at home and abroad, one that will culminate with the critical U.S. midterm elections and who knows what else, Thompson added. On one hand, viewers can expect more Trump-friendly CNN now that it will be owned by a media conglomerate known as, obviously, PSKY, which is Paramount Sky, run by indie producer David Ellison in a deal financed largely by his dad, but also by some other money. And the longtime Trump-supporting Oracle co-founder, Larry Ellison, people close to the company say. Well, are they really that close to the company if you can't reveal them? Or are they too terrified to be revealed? Normally, with thoughts like that or quotes like that, attribution would come from somebody who was friendly. They wouldn't be wanting to avoid being seen as friendly, which to me is concerning, at least in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that CNN will be automatically transformed into a MAGA sounding board. In fact, people close to the Ellisons' burgeoning media empire as it continues to grow, they expect a centrist CNN to emerge from their $80.5 billion purchase. Now, wait a minute. This is over $110 billion in what's totally being spent here. Perhaps they're not acknowledging the money that had to be paid to Netflix to basically go away, which is kind of the breakup fee that was, really making Zaslav kind of nervous because it would mean that some of his golden earnings would flow away. And they are. He's not getting a double payday. He's getting a singular sale that benefits shareholders, which is supposed to be the way that it's done. Anyway, as one person inside Paramount Sky Dance told me, yes, I know people are scared, but we're looking to produce a news product that appeals to 70% of the country. That is either center left or center right. Why would you be scared of that? It's a great question, and one I think should be a subheadline for every article written on this subject matter going forward. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. That sentiment hasn't filtered down to the network's anchors, producers, and correspondents who crank out the 24/7 cable news product. They believe President Trump will be on the phone daily orchestrating coverage with the Ellisons and Weiss, the Post has learned. Isn't that just silly? I sure seem to think it is. How about you? A bigger problem for Thompson and his troops are from anchors like Caitlin Collins, Jake Tapper, and Anderson Cooper, right down to the line of rank and file, is the likelihood of cost cutting. Well, of course that's going to happen. It happens anytime there's any kind of acquisition or merger, and it certainly would have happened with the Netflix acquisition. Everybody is not going to be guaranteed a permanent job, and some people don't even do the job properly, correctly, or even fairly. CNN is known for its low ratings compared to Fox and even PMS Now, but it still makes money. The year's adjusted operated profit is projected for $600 million on revenue of $1.8 billion. That is very surprising to me. I often thought this was the stepchild of news networks and was headed downwards while others were rising, including Newsmax and many other independents who would seem more profitable to me. But hey, I don't mind being wrong as long as some of the changes at CNN are, going to happen. Now, more good news, PSKY is looking to merge it with CBS News Division, the thing that Weiss runs, meaning that there is a need for warm bodies to keep the product going, which, as I said in a previous video, and once again I want to point up there and say you can check that out later if you so choose, they're not going to get rid of all that many people, just the people that maybe are so politics first that they reek of it. And that's a big problem with personalities over there at CNN. But the bad news is the debt that PSKY is incurred with the merger, including $15 billion attached to the cable properties. That also means that the new owners need to cut costs. Meanwhile, if you have Weiss, why do you need Thompson? And the answer to that is you don't. And Thompson's going to be a free agent. There might be somebody who wants them. I'm not sure who. Maybe he'll go over to PMS Now. Maybe he'll find his way to another network of some sort. Maybe NBC wants him. I don't know. But top producers could get axed because better ones might be found at CBS, and the same goes for CNN anchors. But I promise you one person who's not going anywhere, Scott Jennings. At least not until he runs for office, because that's the next step for him. The biggest question, of course, is how many cuts are needed and who will even be leading the combined CNN-CBS. That's anybody's guess. Weiss will play a key role, but she will need backup. All of these questions have yet to be answered because PSKY is just looking at the books, I'm told. And you know what? They need to take a big look at this chick's salary for what she delivers. Management was somewhat blindsided by Netflix's quick fold. I don't think any of us were. We had been seeing the writing on the wall for a while. This price tag was just too much to bear for Netflix, and their stockholders were not super excited about it. They were fleeing from the company's stock price pretty rapidly, and it showed. Even after their 10-for-1 split, they started to head downward in a way that suggested there was nobody behind this, and I can understand why. In the meantime, there's nothing more that CNN peeps can do other than keep calm and carry on. And look, that's just solid advice anywhere. When your company is acquired, pay very close attention to the language being used. They are going to go after some cost-cutting cuts, and you're going to see people change, disappear. You're going to see structures change. That's normal. It's usually done in a phased way, and they do it in a way not to panic the staff. But here, the staff is panicking because they know that their political alignment is out of sync with what would be a legitimate news source in an unbiased way. And if you don't believe that, I just want you to go and take a look at a show that has Scott Jennings on it versus the other 5 or 6 panelists that happen to be there as well, and decide for yourself who's the lone voice in the wilderness. Not very balanced news if that's how things look, and I think we're not getting away from that anytime soon, but maybe by the time the elections roll around. And there's a ticking clock on this. This is part of the story that's not being revealed here. This thing needs to close quickly. It's got to jump through regulatory hurdles, and they need to transfer ownership ASAP. And by that point, maybe things will start to calm down, including the staff members that have secured their jobs for the future. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments section down below. Is CNN going to be better off for this? Is CBS? Will the combined partnership of two news conglomerates work well together instead of the division that Comcast sought with their Versant efforts to dump their cable disasters? Or do you think that it's possible the Ellisons over there at Paramount Sky Dance may elect to get rid of some of the cable outlets, and maybe one of those up for grabs will be CNN? Let me know, again, your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. It's also the cold season. And until next time, see ya! But probably not watching CNN.